Okay, so now we are moving on to our introduction to doing a Punnett Square. There's a lot of steps that are required when completing a Punnett Square, so hang tight while we go through it. Once you get the hang of doing a Punnett Square one after another, it does get to be pretty easy. You'll learn how to do it and it's going to be like second nature, but learning the process does take some time. So be patient, follow this video, make sure you're writing down each step as you can see on your note sheet. There are 5 steps that I have planned out for each of us to do. And so I left writing in those steps to you. You can either copy straight from the slide or put it into your own words, whichever makes the most sense to you, because in the end, you are going to be the one doing a Punnett Square either on a test or on a quiz. And so you should be able to do this on your own, either in your own words, or if whatever I've written down it's best for you, then you can go with that as well. So here we go. We still have a few things to talk about before beginning our Punnett Square. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the purpose. We do Punnett squares in science to predict the probability of an offspring having a particular genotype. So we talked about capital B, lowercase, and then 2 lowercases. So we're going to find out what's the probability that an offspring will have either 2 capitals, 2 lowercases, or that heterogeneous mixture. It's always going to be either 25, 75, 50, or 100. So it's not like too crazy of a probability. We're scientists, we're not mathematicians, so we try to keep it as simple as possible. It's going to be working on 25, 50, 75, or 100%. Our example is that we are going to be working with hair color in bears. So the trait that we're going to be looking at is hair color, whether it's going to be a brown bear or a black bear. In our example, we're going to say that a brown hair color bear is dominant. So that brown color is the dominant trait. So if you see a capital B, that means that the parent is going to be having one of their traits as a brown dominant. Remember, capital case means that it is referencing to the dominant trait. In our case, that is brown hair. The recessive trait is black hair. Black is less common, and a black hair genotype is going to be represented by a lowercase b. All right, here we go. I like Punnett squares, but I like science, so hopefully once you get this down, you'll enjoy it as well. It can be pretty fun, especially as you get to learn how to do them and you're more comfortable with doing a Punnett square. Our example, on your paper, it says, a pair of bears are expecting a child. Let's predict the possible color of the offspring for a heterozygous brown mother and a homozygous black father. Our first step, whenever you're starting a Punnett square, you want to be able to identify what is the genotype of each of the parents. So what is their genetic information that they're passing on to the child? Here in our example, it says that the heterozygous mother has a capital B lowercase b. That's her genotype. And then it says that we have a homozygous father, and he has lowercase b, lowercase b. So that's going to be the father's genotype. Whenever you're reading information in a problem, this is what you're looking for first. Whether it is capital B, lowercase, lowercase, or again that mixture, which in our case is the mother, capital B, lowercase b. So make sure you're writing down step 1, what's the genotype? Determine that genotype for each of the parents. Step 2, you are going to take one of the parents and you're going to start to set up your Punnett square. So you see how I have the little square in the bottom corner. It has 4 possible outcomes. That's because with each parent, there's going to be 4 different creations for the possible offspring, and that's how we get our 25, 50, 75, 100% possibilities. So I started with the mother. You're going to take the mother's genotype and you're going to spread it out across the top of the Punnett square. So the first letter for her genotype goes above the top left of the Punnett square, which is the capital B. And then the second letter in her genotype, which in our case is the lowercase b, that's going to be spread across the top right of the Punnett square. And you can see it here on the slide, capital B, lowercase b. And we simply got that from the heterozygous mother, and we got that information from the problem. So we're just taking it, we're splitting it up into two and putting it on the top of our Punnett square. Then we're going to repeat the process. We're now going to take the father's genotype, and from the information in our problem, it says he is a homozygous black bear. So he has two lowercase b's. Now his information is going to go down the side of the left side of the Punnett square. So the first letter of the second parent is going to go onto the left side of the top left of the Punnett square. And then you're going to take the second letter and you're going to put it right below that to the bottom left of the Punnett square. And so now you can see that we have, this is how you set up a Punnett square. It's going to be those 4 empty boxes. Across the top of the Punnett square, you're going to see one of the parent's genotype. And then down the side of the Punnett square on the left side, you're going to see the other parent's genotype. This is why our vocabulary is becoming so important. Once we start talking more and more often about these specific vocabulary terms and you start using them in your everyday language, it's going to get more comfortable for you. Now we're going to show you how you figure out what is the possibility for these offspring. Step 4. This is doing and performing the Punnett square. You're going to bring the letters from the first parent down into each of the boxes. So I'm going to take this uppercase B here, and because the uppercase B is above those 2 boxes, I'm going to push it down into both of those boxes. So watch on the screen. We have the capital B. So I'm taking that capital B and I'm putting it into the first square on the top left. And then we still have an option to bring it down again into that bottom square. So it kind of looks like a game of tic-tac-toe. That's what I always thought of when I was doing Punnett squares. We're taking that capital B from mother and we're bringing it down into each of those squares below it. We're doing the same thing for that second letter. So here we go. Now we're working with that this lowercase b here. And we're doing the same thing, just instead of the capital B, because this is a lowercase b, this lowercase b is gonna go down. So now it's in that first box, and we're bringing it down to the second box as well. This is how we're spreading out the genetic information between the different possibilities for the offspring. One more step. Make sure you're writing down the information. I guess it's on that side. That's on that side of the slide. And now we're going to go for step 5, and then this is going to be it for us. Step 5, it looks similar to step 4, but instead we're going to now transfer over the genetic information from the second parent. So the information that is on the left-hand side of the Punnett square. It's 2 lowercase b's, and so we're going to take the first lowercase b that's on the top, and what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it over across. So we're going to start in this square. The lowercase b is going to come from across and enter into that first top square. And then same thing, we need to move it over to here. So we're going to put another lowercase b in there. Do it again with the bottom side. Bringing it into the bottom left square, and then bringing that b into the bottom right square. Then we got some genotypes. So we are done performing our Punnett square. Now all we have to do is analyze our information. Remember that every single person on this planet has a genotype, and there's only ever 2 letters because the possibilities within our Punnett square are coming from the genetic information from mom, genetic information from dad. So there's only ever 2 letters. So we're done. Probability time. We're going to look at our different probabilities, and we're going to see what is the probability that our offspring is going to have two capital B's. So looking in our Punnett Square, like inside of the little squares, how many out of 4, because there's 4 possibilities, how many out of 4 are capital B, capital B? And you're going to go ahead and write that in on the bottom of the first page. And you can turn that into a percentage. Is it 1 out of 4? Is it 0 out of 4? 3 out of 4? How many of those inside of the box do you see that are capital B, capital B? The second one, how many out of the 4 possibilities are capital B, lowercase b? Count those up, turn it into a percentage. And then out of our 4 possibilities, how many are lowercase b? Then you're going to change that into a percentage, and we can go from there for the phenotype. So if you see in your possibilities for an offspring a capital letter anywhere, remember those capital letters represent the dominant trait, and we said that the brown is the dominant trait. So if any of those have a capital letter in them, then that child will have a dominant black hair showing. So I see 2 possibilities. On the left side, both of those options are capital B, lowercase b. Because there's a capital B in those, that means that there's a 50% chance that our offspring is going to be showing the dominant trait. And on the right side, if you're looking down the column, there's 2 options for lowercase. There's no dominant trait in there. We don't have a capital B, so that means that there's a 50% chance that our offspring will have black hair. So it's 50-50 for this kid. This kid is either going to have 50%, maybe it'll have black hair, 50%, maybe it'll have brown hair. So these are just probabilities. These are guesses to what a child might look like. So now we are going to move on, and we're going to do another Punnett Square together. I'm not going to show it on the screen. You're going to set it up. I'll talk you through it. And so this is going to be on the back of your note sheet. So like I said, I'll guide you through it. If you need to stop, rewind, or replay the video, go ahead and do that. But follow along to my voice as we go through these steps. All right, so step 1, you need to figure out what is the genotype in our example. So our example on the back, if you're reading along at the top with me. A homozygous, capital E, lowercase e mother with wet earwax is having a child with a homozygous, lowercase e father, and he has dry earwax. What are the probabilities of genotype for the offspring? So step 1, what are the genotypes for this mother and father? Just go ahead and find that within the information in our example problem. Then you're going to take one of those genotypes and you're going to lay it across the top of our Punnett Square, so spacing out those letters above the top left and right hand box. Then you're going to go and you're going to include the information for the second parent, and that is going to be placed along the side of the left-hand column of our Punnett Square, again spacing it out between the top left and the bottom left box. All right, now you're going to start doing your Punnett Square. Take the information for the first parent and bring down those letters into each of the boxes, starting with the left on the top and then the right on the top. And then you're going to take the information that's on the left-hand column and you're going to spread it across the Punnett Square. So taking the top left, whatever letter you have written in there, you're going to take it across into the first and the second box. And then the second letter, you're going to do the same thing, spread it across into the left and then the right-hand box. Okay, so now count up your possibilities. Do you have any that are 2 capital E's? Do you have any that are a capital and a lowercase? And how many out of 4 do you have that are 2 lowercase e's? Turn those into percentages, and then you've done your first Punnett Square on your own. Now, if you need to use the information from the front or the back to do the second Punnett Square, I want you to do the last and final, and then I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm very proud of you. Make sure if you want to rewatch this video, replay it, rewind it, whatever you need to do. All right. Bye!